I was running so much, I did not have time to take care of me. I would utilize the time as if I'm fasting, but my body was not nourished. It was depleting. So through that whole process, I remember one day I got up and I was cleaning and I almost passed out. And I know that it's only by God's grace that I'm still here and I have a position and a place to serve and serve others. So
doing this when no one is there, when no one is clapping, or when nobody even comes.
you got to give yourself that, you have to give yourself that applause. You have to remember to give yourself grace. It's new, it's different. So when nobody showed up, and I was in that season where nobody was there, I'm still in that season where nobody might come, nobody might say, they won't even accept what you have done, but it's okay. So you give yourself the applause.
Now that you're in this space now, are you able to see that, okay, God, this is your purpose from the beginning. It was hard, it's tough, and maybe even still now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's an aspect of it that you can see, oh, wow, God, this is what you had in mind.
Obedience over everything else is saying yes, even when you can't understand it.
Welcome to Activation Room. My name is Abby O. Champion. The Activation Room is a faith-based mentor circle designed to equip, inspire, and activate women into their purpose and their assignment. Each episode, we're going to be featuring women in ministry, entrepreneurship, and community leadership who are leading with intentions, building with visions, and impacting lives through faith. The Activation Room is a space that will remind you that you are equipped, you are positioned, and it's time to move. Come into the room, let's get activated. My name is Abby O. Champion. See you in a second. Welcome, friend.
Hi, it's been a minute, thank you.
Yes, how are you?
I'm well.
Thank you for coming into the room.
Thank you for the invite to
Yes, of course.
Activation Room.
Yes, we're about to activate.
We are indeed.
All right.
About to advance to some levels that are beyond ourselves.
Yes, amen.
Thank you for the invite.
Amen.
I truly appreciate it.
Amen.
I feel
I'm honored too that you said yes. So, before we get started,
yes.
Can you let my audience know who Miss Alicia Kilandi is?
Wow. Who am I? Well, what I can say, I'm a servant.
Amen.
That's what identify who I am. However, born I was Alicia Lewis, and then I borrowed the last name Kilandi through divorce. But I am a servant of God. I'm also the founder of Kilandi and James Ministry of Blessing, which is a nonprofit organization that was birthed out of a tumultuous situation that was birthed into life to advocate for homelessness and helping those that are unhoused. I'm also been challenged to a new level of heights, which God has challenged me to go forth and divinely purpose those intention to do His will and His way accordingly. So as of last year, I am working on birthing Divinely Purpose 50 YouTube channel. So I'm a mother, I'm a woman of faith, and as I say, I will continue to say I'm a servant of God. So that is who I am.
All right. So you're telling me something new, even though I think when we spoke, but I want you to kind of share. You mentioned divinely purposed.
Right.
And that's something new that God is.
Yes, God is working on me. So it was the end of last year. I dealt with some medical ordeal, had a near-death situation, and it took 5 years to heal my body. And at the fifth year, which was the end of last year, God said, I'm taking you from behind the veil and I'm moving you forward. And in the midst of that, 3 months in, He gave me the name. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And I created the email and I created everything else. And He said, I want you to tell your testimony. And I was like, I'm not ready. It's still fresh. But I had no choice. So on my 50th birthday, I started Divinely Purpose 50 YouTube channel. And I've been going since then.
Divinely Purpose. So tell me more in terms of
Divinely purpose is basically rooted in rediscovering who you are due to medical and family or emotional trauma. So through my own rediscovering of my own self-worth, knowing that it broke me after dealing with my medical near-death situation, it is allowing me to rebirth who I am, rediscover my purpose, rediscover my truth. And in that, God said, I need for you to help those that are also journeying with you rediscover who they are through that same process of their own self-worth and their own confidence, and purposely knowing that they can pass through and walk through whatever it is as long as they trust and believe in me.
Wow. Amen. So I wanted you to also take us back a bit, though.
Okay.
I want to take back before you came to knowing this, this divinely purpose and the other ministry. What was your journey like?
Ooh. Okay. So I went through a divorce, and as a single parent, you don't know the life that you go through, toiling through everything, daily activities with the children, work, and everything else. Your body began taking a beating, and mine did. I was running so much, I did not have time to take care of me. I would utilize the time as if I'm fasting, but my body was not nourished. It was depleting. So through that whole process, I remember one day I got up and I was cleaning and I almost passed out. And I called my doctor, and it was a continuous process because I went from 8 hours worth of sleep to 2 hours worth of sleep daily. And when I called, he was like, come in, let's check you. And they went in and they checked, and my levels were very low. And then we realized that my body was taking a beating. My iron was depleting, and it was causing some effects to my body. So I was dealing with adenomyosis. Some people deal with endometriosis, but I had adenomyosis. So with that, there were some scarrings and some things that proceed on, but there were several pains that I had to deal with. I tell people you don't ever want to deal with anything that will cause you such an effect that you are like a fetus curled up on a chair. That's how heightened my pain used to be. I went through 2 years of oncology where I had to get blood reinserted, created with iron,
Created
put back
blood.
into my system, like you go for infusions or dialysis process. And I did that for 2 years, and the doctor was afraid to do my surgery. So I had to find a new one. God said, okay, since he was afraid because he think he would kill me, go to this other doctor. So I kept praying. And the year came, and my doctor said, okay, we'll do it. But it was during COVID. Very detrimental time because everything was shut down. So nothing could have been done. So the doctor said, well, I can shut you down for 2 months, but that's all you have. Anything after that, I can't guarantee you anything. And we did. We did the first month, and they didn't open. And I began praying, and I was pressing in. And the brightest light that I could ever see came about while I was sitting on my kitchen table. And I said, God, you're not going to let me leave this place like this. I said, I have 4 children that you told me, that everybody told me I could not have, but you granted me them anyway. So how would I leave them with no one to care for them? And I was sitting at my table, and the biggest and brightest light came, and he said, it will be. That Saturday and that Monday, my doctor called, and he said they opened the hospital for 1 surgery, 1 only.
Wow.
And we're scheduling you. So I went in the end of May and had the surgery. Went well. 2 weeks later, I went back and I was dying. My inside was eroding and I was facing death. And I didn't believe it. My daughter had to give the okay, do I live or do I die? And she said it was the longest 6 hours she ever waited for someone to come back and say she's alive. While I was there, 3:40 in the morning, I will never forget it. I remember the kids saying they wanted to do something for homelessness. And I was like, okay, you can do the gloves and the stuff. And God said no. Because through that ordeal, I was losing things, right? Job was not, and things was going on. But I was still positioned, and I wasn't financially distressed. So he said, okay, I want you to go out there and show others how to walk through this process. You were healing people while you were in the hospital. You were healing nurses. The doctor that worked on you also was of a different religion, but she told you you were her miracle patient. That wasn't just an accident. She was praying with you of a different faith. So I'm telling you your purpose to do the things that I'm calling you to. So I said, God, if you save me, I'll do it. But I was still running. And through it all, we did. I walked out of it, and when I got home, it took me about a year and some change to regroup. I had to learn how to walk, learn how to drive, and everything, but I did not lose anything at all. My house was still paid. They might have been delayed, but they were never, ever missed. Mortgage was paid. Everything was done. And he said, I want you to go out there, and I want you to help others. Don't give them a handout, but give them a handout. Teach them how to financially structure themselves, but they won't lose anything. So that is how that was birthed out. And then divinely, he said, now that you're healed, I want you to go out and help others heal themselves, because healing comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. So here I am.
Wow. So near death for what you're saying, almost twice. And God brought you back, and then in the midst of it, a purpose was
Born.
My goodness. In terms of before the health issue and all that, are you someone that, were you asking God about purpose? Were you even like is it in your radar in terms of, okay, you know what? I feel like God is calling me, or I have something that I know that, I can use to impact the lives of others. Were there any questions that?
That is a good question. So all my life, I've been running. I was a runner. So to me, I was called since I was 5 years old. But every time God pulls me, I run away. And when others define you, you don't run to God, you run away from God. Though God is there structuring you and guiding you, you're still running away. So I was being disobedient. And there's a word that says disobedience is better, obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was the disobedient child, and I was the runner. So I knew I had a calling, but because I see how the Christian society is and the traditional basis of what it is and how it's non-accepting sometimes to the things that God is calling, because he said if he called you, he provisioned you.
Yes.
But sometimes you're not accepted in that provision. So I would run until, I turned 50, and he said, you can't run anymore.
From 5 years old to 50. What you said at 5?
At 5
How
years
did you?
old.
How did you know? What?
There were times in my life that things will show itself. My father was killed when I was 10, but prior to my father's death, my mom would go through a situation, and I would come to her and I would say things, and she was like, you're special. And everybody would say, you sure you're not adopted? You're different. And I would take it, but I wouldn't, register it. I was like, okay, they say I'm different. I'm okay with it. So I just keep moving. But I realized after I was 19, I remember I was standing on the platform. I would always go to church, and I would go to the clubs, and I would do different things. And I had some groups that I would dance with. And I remember one day I was on the dance floor of Taboo Tuesday nightclub. And while I was standing there, God said, okay, it's time. My favorite song was playing, but I could not move. And everybody was like, hey, are you coming to dance? I'm like, no. And he said, this is it. It's time. And I left that dance floor, and I never looked back.
You could literally hear God.
He did. He said it was time. I couldn't move. You ever been planted? You know how they screw stuff down on the ground and you try to move it and it wouldn't move? That was me. I could not move. I ran out the club while it was still, everybody was still there. They was wondering if I was crazy. I ran away and I walked out, and I never looked back. Never did. And then the disobedience of not wanting to serve kept going until he said it's time. And I think it was more so because of pride sometimes.
Pride.
And sometimes the shame, because others don't know what you have walked through in life. See, my near-death situation wasn't the first one. I was told before that I wouldn't be able to walk. And to date, marked 15 years, and I'm still walking. So I've walked through some circumstances of life, and I know that it's only by God's grace that I'm still here, and I have a position and a place to serve and serve others. So here I am.
You said shame
Yeah.
and pride. What do you mean by
The
that?
two deadly killers. So my pride was, you know what are people going to say? You know, they know me one way,
One way.
but
Ooh.
now I'm serving God in a new way, right? They're not accustomed to that side of me. So what are they going to say and how are they going to look at
People.
me? Right. The deadly killer of those, you know, projecting something and you receiving. And then the shame was, you know, how are they going to feel when I share my story or my testimony? What is it going to be next? And how are they going to receive me thereafter? Will I still be received the same? You know, because they know the broken side of me. They don't know the healed version of who I am. So, yeah, it was for a minute. Those two was the deadly killers in my life. But God said no more.
No more. And you know what? I think more than we would like to admit, the thought of what people will say
Oh, yeah.
is a very strong
Yes, it
factor
is.
in people not moving in what they have been called
Yeah.
to, what people will
Yeah.
say, the voice of people. My goodness. I want us to kind of enter into the people you're serving with your ministry in terms of the homelessness and all that. How long have you been doing this?
Okay, so I started that about a year in. So this is my third year
Okay.
serving, fully licensed and serving in that capacity. So this will mark my third year.
So what do you actually,
I
how
go
do you
out and
serve that
serve
population?
the unhoused through either going downtown or we do now the extended stays. So we go out monthly and we provide either financial support or we bring toiletries and food and things of that nature, clothing, and supporting them in that way. Or whatever resources that they're needing, we also navigate them to those resources to get them back into a normalcy of life where they're finding their own place and getting back into society according to their standards, not others. So if they need a place, an apartment, or if they need to find a shelter or anywhere else that they're needing to be, if the resources are there, we would navigate them and connect them accordingly and move them into that situation.
We will get the information for the nonprofit and provide it to the people that might want to support in that capacity. But what is it part of your calling that's geared, or your heart is open to that population in terms of homelessness and feeding the needy and all that? Is what part of you, or did God specifically tell you that these are the people that you're called to, or this population?
Because of what I dealt with, that was the nature and the need. Because if I was not in the financial place that I was, I would be one of those individuals.
Is there any testimony from, maybe that you can share in terms of the people that you've ministered to, and you knowing that, okay, God, you're in the midst of this. This is not by my own thought or my own desire.
Right. Indeed, I have a couple of young ladies that I have assisted. I remember one day I was praying with one young lady, and I told her, I said, God showed me you celebrating in your own home doing, and she's like, I don't see it. Nobody else have ever helped me to get to that place. So I don't think I can. I know you're telling me, but I don't believe it. And today she's now in her own 3-bedroom a house, not even an apartment. She has a
House.
house that is rented. Her kids are there. I would babysit her kids while she was homeless and needing a sitter. So she would go to work. I would take them to my home and I would babysit them. So she would be at work. And when she got off, I would drive them back to her and get her. Because, of course, in order for you to get into a place, you have to have income. And your income is required, especially if you're wanting to get back into an apartment or a house. They're requiring you to have some kind of income.
Of course,
So in order
yeah.
for her to work, she needed a sitter. And she couldn't pay for a sitter because she's just starting out. So I met her through my back to school drive, and we started talking, and I would assist. And she got to the place, I still talk to her to this day, where, she is there. She's doing ministry as well. She's serving God, and she's doing it the right way. And her children are advocates. They are serving as well. But she didn't believe it. So every time she'll call me, she said, "This is not real." And I say, "Yes, it is. God is so real. And he'll open the door if you're obedient to his will." And you were obedient, so he opened that door for you. So, yes.
Wow. You saying yes, free someone to be able to move also in their calling beyond their needs being met. Now they are able to now step into their purpose. And now you have divinely purposed.
I do.
Ha! That's not by accident.
No.
Because once they're restored, now it's time to come. Because, God freed you just like he did to the Israelites.
Yes.
That they might serve him. So when you come out of, God expects you to go ahead and begin to use that which he brought you through to be a blessing to other people so they can step into. So we're like a gap. You're a bridge.
That's it.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said the healing belongs to you, but the testimony belongs to me, right?
That's right.
So I said, okay, you heal me. So now I have to go testify. I have to talk about the goodness of who you are. But like Christ, he said a lot didn't receive him when Jesus was there, right? So there's some not going to receive you. Some will deny you. Some will even chastise you. And it's okay. So I learned now to navigate life in a space where I'm okay with being in that place of solitude, where if no one is there clapping or cheering, if nobody's there telling me I did well, I'm okay knowing that God is finally satisfied with what I'm doing because he already navigated me through that process.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
In terms of doing this when no one is there, when no one is clapping, or when nobody even comes.
You got to you have to give yourself that applause. You have to remember to give yourself grace. It's new, it's different. So when nobody showed up, and I was in that season where nobody was there, I'm still in that season where nobody might come, nobody might say. They won't even accept what you have done, but it's okay. So you give yourself the applause. I give myself a pat on the back. I said, you did it, and it's okay.
Wow. So I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
For stepping in and activating what it is that God has put in you. But my last question is, and I think you already answered some of that question, is when you have to let God be God, even in the midst of the pain and the suffering, and you're able to give God everything he has, put you through, he's able to multiply it. Now that you're in this space now, are you able to see that, okay, God, this is your purpose from the beginning. It was hard, it's tough, and maybe even still now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's an aspect of it that you can see, oh, wow, God, this is what you had in mind all along. What can you say to the person that might be in that situation and they may be resistant and again, maybe they're not able to see through whatever it is and say there's no way that God can use this?
Yes. I will say obedience. Obedience over everything else is saying yes, even when you can't understand it.
Even when you don't have the next
when
line,
you don't have
just the verbal.
No. Even when you don't understand the journey. And what I'm learning in this season is that God take you through different seasons of life. Know that as you steward it, you're going to have spring, you're going to have summer, you're going to have fall, and you got winter. All 4 seasons carry different layers of things. You can't go into them the same way. So as God is stewarding you through this process, just be obedient to his calling. And obedience will take you through the place where he's navigating you to remember that whatever he's taking you to is not for now. It's for your future. So he'll take you through the process of here and strengthening you and building you. So when you get to that place, you're able to process through without fumbling that ball. You'll be able to operate without losing out or falling short of because you didn't properly structure yourself to get to that destination. So just be obedient.
And let God pull you through or
That's
walk you through the process. Yes, because if you don't go through the process, there's nothing that you can actually give to somebody else.
No. It's like a child going through school. You know, when you start school, right? You're starting kindergarten. You don't know anything. You have to go through that process of learning, right? You have to learn how to read, learn how to write. If you didn't do it at home, there's another layer of learning that you have to go through. So if you're thinking you know it all, then you'll never get anywhere. Because even when you know it all, you still have to learn the next layer of what it is. In every class grade, there comes a higher
There's
process.
a higher process,
right?
yes.
So every navigation takes you someplace different. You might think you're at the surface right now and everything is fine. But as you go through the next layer, it will come with some trials. It'll come with some tribulation. And it will be something else that you still have to learn. So how do you navigate? You have to be obedient. You got to turn to God and just trust Him in the process. So that's where it is. And die to your flesh and allow your spirit man to just hone in and let God do the work in you.
Die to the flesh.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
If you kill the flesh, because you make comparison, right? You get comfortable when it comes to your ears, hearing things, and you're operating under the flesh of God versus the heart of God, which is your heart, right? When you digest and you ingest what God is telling you to do, that's a different story. But when you hear everything and you break it apart, you're using your flesh to navigate. And He's not asking you to use your ear, but He's asking you to use His eyes, His ears, and His mouth to speak out the things that He desires for you to receive.
So ask God for His ears to hear, His eyes to see what He wants you to see, and the heart of God to be able to receive the thing that He's downloading.
That's it.
Because sometimes, if you go with a heart of flesh, you're not able to perceive.
No.
Because it also says, I think in Isaiah that now I'm doing a new thing. Can you not perceive it?
Yes.
Right. So there's a chance that you're not perceiving. God is is trying to connect, but you're not perceiving it. So everything starts from the place of just being quiet and letting God minister to you. Wow, thank you so much. So last question is, what is your legacy that you're trying to pass on? Because what what do you want the world to remember about Alicia Kilandi?
What do I want to be remembered by? The fact that I did not serve myself. I died to me, and I honor God. That everything that I touch will leave a disdain of a strong presence of who He is. So I operate in that ordinance. I tell people, don't judge me by the index of my book, but open me to the content of my character. I want my character to explode in so many ways and explore just the vision of God. So when I leave here, people will say, you know what? I remember her. She used to touch souls. She used to change lives. And I want that to be who I am and my story. That I made that difference, that impact was because you and I had an encounter.
And I believe you are doing exactly just that. I mean, through this ministry that you're birthing, us meeting, is definitely an impact. So thank you so much for coming in. How can the people, if they want to connect with the ministry or if they want to support the nonprofit in any way?
Yes, they can go to the website, which is knjblessings.org. That is the website. Or they can find me on Facebook at Kilandi and James Ministry of Blessings. We do have PayPal, we have Zelle, we have, PayPal, Zelle, and Cash App that you can donate through. And at any point you can email me or you can DM me and, you can support. We do also take clothing donations. You can partner with us to do different things. We are in the startup phase, as I said. Foundation was last year. This year we are structuring things to move forward with what God has called us to do. So, yes.
And you serve in the Atlanta area?
I serve in the Gwinnett area.
The Gwinnett area,
yes.
Okay.
But if there's a need and someone call, I then connect. So that's how the advocacy piece comes about, where we join forces with other organizations in different places. and just connect people there.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming in. Thank you for saying yes to God. Thank you for using your testimony to impact. And I believe that today your story has really activated some, because, you know, some probably going through challenges of one thing or the other, whether in their health or otherwise, might feel like, you know, that God call is not, but God has, you know, He will equip the called.
Yes.
And it will use everything that you submit to Him for His glory.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sis, for coming in.
Thank you.
As we close today's episode, I want to remind you what God has placed on your heart is not random. There is a purpose attached to it. And on the other side of your obedience, there's an impact. There's a life that is meant to be touched. I'm your host, Abby O. Champion, and this is Activation Room. If this episode encouraged you, please don't forget to subscribe and share with someone who needs it. I will see you next time.